Stage 3, Goole to Beverley in Yorkshire, 154.7 kilometres. And a sense, as the peloton prepared to get underway, that the wind might have an impact on the race. Another day of glorious sunshine, however, at the Tour of Britain, and another day in which Jumbo-Visma's Olaf Koy, in the leader's jersey, went into the race expecting a bunch sprint and as favourites to take a third consecutive stage win. Jumbo-Visma then, the team that would have to control the early breakaways, and a day, again, where a questionable decision to get in a breakaway might have been plaguing some of the thinking of the riders in the peloton, because the expectation would be that another bunch sprint would be on the cards for Jumbo-Visma. It was Nicolas Sessler, though, from Global 6 Cycling, riding his third participation at the Tour of Britain, the Brazilian, who got the attacks underway, and he was joined in no short order by Harry Tanfield of TDT Unibet and James Fouché, the leader of the King of the Mountains competition in the Pinarello King of the Mountains jersey. A good opportunity for Fouché potentially to take further points in the King of the Mountains competition. Two Cat 3 climbs, I should say, along the way. A couple of riders tried to get across to the three at the front of the race, including Camille Bonnu of Flanders Baloise, the winner of a stage from a breakaway last year into Sunderland's, but those riders were caught, and eventually the three riders were condemned to getting what they could out of the day's breakaway. Held at a time gap that was no bigger than 3 minutes, they went over the Tothorpe land climb, the first climb of the day, with Fouché picking up 4 more points. Harry Tanfield in good spirits, and then on to the Langtoft climb, the final categorised climb of the day. Both of them Cat 3 climbs, and Fouché once again being allowed uncontested to roll over the top of the climb in first place, picking up another 4 points. Finishing the day on 25 points in the King of the Mountains competition and extending his lead to 11 seconds in that competition. Jumbo-Visma in control of the breakaway as they headed towards Bridlington, at which point they would hit the coast road, turn south and be exposed to the potential of a cross tailwind on the exit of the seaside resort and the North Sea coast of East Yorkshire. Jumbo-Visma, as well as Movistar and a number of other teams, vigilant then for this change in direction. The three riders saw their advantage at this point in the race shrink to no more than about 20-25 seconds as they passed through the sprint at Skipsea, halfway down the coastal section of this run into Beverley. And it was Harry Tanfield, once again, as he did on stage 1, who went across the line of the only intermediate sprint of the day at Skipsea in first place. The peloton were active at times, wary throughout, and then at other times just watching one another to see if the crosswinds might provoke a bit of action. But it was St Piran who launched a 3-up attack at a momentary lull during the peloton's attitude to the race to try and get across a 30-second gap and join the three riders at the front of the race, which they duly did. A smart move, given that the final 28 kilometres would be held with a very strong tailwind. This gave them breakaway new impetus and a chance potentially to spring a surprise on the bunch. However, Jumbo-Visma had other ideas. Eduardo Affini, Wout van Aert and Nathan van Hooydonk shut that move down from St Piran in very quick time and started to stress out the peloton and briefly create a bit of mayhem, stretching things out in the cross tailwinds and briefly breaking the bunch into 2 constituent parts. The St Piran counter-attack and the rest of the breakaway was neutralised, with over 30 kilometres still to go. And those St Piran riders would eventually find themselves in a small group off the back, who got back on once it calmed down again. But that wasn't the end of the attacks. It was the Ineos Grenadiers now who started to launch off the front. Ben Turner, the Yorkshireman, the first of their riders to attack. That provoked a counter-attack from a number of other riders. They were caught, though. Turner neutralised, but it was Luke Rowe, the road captain from Ineos Grenadiers, who launched the next attack, followed by Movistar, who were very active all day. That one didn't work either. Luke Rowe was called back by Jumbo-Visma, and Ben Turner, having recovered, albeit briefly, on a little rise in the road, launched another attack, and this one created mayhem. Rasmus Tiller from Uno X, the first of the riders to follow, as well as Jake Scott from Bolton Equities and Niels Pollitt of Bora Hansgrohe, seeing that move and sniffing out the moment to counter-attack with Ben Turner. Gonzalo Serrano as well, last year's winner, briefly off the front. 9 riders at one point having a 30-second advantage, but that got whittled down to just 2. Matt Bostock of the Isle of Man riding for Bolton Equities, and Niels Pollitt, who persisted to try and hold off the chase. But with Gonzalo Serrano of Movistar back in the peloton, Movistar started to work along with Trinity Racing and Jumbo-Visma. And first of all, Niels Pollitt was caught, leaving just Bostock out front, and he too would be swallowed up by the peloton as they approached the outskirts of Beverley in a bunch sprint. Very much on the cards at that point as Jumbo-Visma reasserted control at the front of the race, aided by Movistar and Trinity Racing. Briefly, Q36.5 got involved as well at setting the pace, and so too did Flanders Baloise. So a slightly different script this time as opposed to the first 2 stages, but in the final kilometre it was the same lead-out man, Wout van Aert, who delivered Olaf Koy to the point where he launched the sprint. Danny van Poppel and not Sam Bennett riding for Bora Hansgrohe and pushing Koy close, but Olaf Koy had enough on an uphill sprint to the line in Beverley to hold off his compatriot Danny van Poppel. A second consecutive second place for him, but Olaf Koy taking 3 out of 3 at the Tour of Britain. The general classification then, Olaf Koy at the top, is Danny van Poppel in second place, Tom Pidcock moving up to 7th, and Wout van Aert dropping to 5th on GC.